Being the second longest animated cartoon running since The Simpsons, Arthur started airing back in 1996, and finally, sadly, has concluded in 2022. As of 2022, me being a 2000s kid, I remember vividly sitting, eating waffles, and watching the show before school every morning with my sisters. And this show was actually way ahead of its time. And it's one of those shows that no one will ever forget. People from the 90s onward watched this show. Their kids watched this show. Maybe even their grandkids watched this show. And today I'm going to be talking about why Arthur was such a huge success and why there will never be another cartoon like it. So I'm sure most people know about Arthur, but in case you haven't, the show is basically about an anthropomorphic aardvark named Arthur Reed, his family, his two sisters, his mom and dad. Everyone in the Arthur universe is an anthropomorphic animal, so it's basically sort of like Zootopia. And there are over 20 seasons of Arthur, I believe, which have tackled some serious issues over the years, and I'm not trying to copy anyone's video. There are other videos that discuss this, but this is just a refresher. Arthur revolved around a third grader at Lakewood Elementary School, and the targeted demographic was kids. But just because it was a kids show, that doesn't mean it didn't have dark episodes and serious topics to cover. We literally see in one episode, and it's one of the more recent episodes, Mr. Ratburn gets married to a same-sex partner, and the kids don't at all seem shocked by this. They just are happy for their teacher because love is love, and it's really progressive and ahead of its time. I don't think Arthur back in the early 2000s or the late 90s would have ever tackled such a thing, because LGBTQ plus representation really wasn't as it is today, which is a good thing. I'm glad they made this episode, even if it wasn't available to air everywhere. And that's not the only episode that tackled serious issues. There were episodes revolving around dyslexia, Alzheimer's and dementia, autism, and Asperger's, and as an autistic person, that was a pretty good portrayal, I'd say, except for the puzzle piece part. I'm not going to go into detail with that in this video because it's a completely separate topic, but other than that, they did a pretty good job with the episode, and it received praise. When Carl Met George is that episode, and other episodes such as The Boy with His Head in the Clouds discuss dyslexia and how to overcome reading disabilities and learning disabilities, and that it doesn't change you or make you a different person. In the episode The Last Tough Customer, we learn about bullying. Molly learns a lesson about bullying when she inadvertently sets a bad example for her little brother. Only then does she apologize to the kids that she bullied. And it is actually revealed towards the beginning of the episode and later in an apology note by Molly that the reason she started bullying others was because she was bullied herself. And she even goes as far as to say that's not an excuse for what she did. She truly seemed sorry about it and wanted to become a better person. Another episode tackled bullying in a much more subtle manner. The episode's so funny I forgot to laugh. And there are reactions to this particular episode on YouTube. Again, this is just my take on it, but basically Arthur makes innocent little jokes about Sue Ellen's new sweater. And at first they're light-hearted and they're meant to be fun jokes, and Sue Ellen plays along. But when Arthur gets carried away, his friends stop speaking to him. He's branded a bully. He thinks Sue Ellen is overreacting about everything, and it actually sheds a light about how when people have a problem or when they're being bullied, that they're often told that they're just too sensitive. It's a subtle form of gaslighting. But the episode eventually did come around and Arthur realized he was being unfair. But it just felt like a more realistic portrayal that shows that sometimes simple teasing can cross the line into bullying, even if there's more malicious intent. I believe that this episode did create a good example with that. Arthur saying lines like, "It was just a joke," and he even actually cyberbullies her in the episode at one point. And he tells her that he felt bad as soon as he pressed send. Luckily, they end up rekindling their friendship at the end of the episode, but it's just one of those episodes, one of the many that tackled serious issues. In one of the episodes I mentioned earlier, Grandpa Dave's memory album, to be more specific, we learn that Arthur and DW's grandfather suffers from either dementia or some form of Alzheimer's. What he actually has is never directly specified in the episode. All we know is that he went to a doctor's appointment and he started to have trouble with his memory. So Arthur, Francine, and DW decide to make him a memory album, and it was filled with a bunch of pictures and mementos and such, and the episode even featured Francine's grandmother, courtesy of the late Joan Rivers, and which leads me into another episode. This again was from the later seasons. She was a recurring character on the show, so it wasn't just like a one-time thing. But there were 2 episodes that dealt with loss. DW loses her pet bird in the episode So Long Spanky, and it's about her coming to terms with the loss of her pet. And then in the episode Listen Up, Muffy learns how to listen to Francine's problems revolving around the death of her bubby. And it's really meaningful to see these shows that are fun shows to watch and have colorful characters, atmospheres, and other aspects that help bring the show to life. A catchy theme song, all of that. But it helps to connect to kids all around the world who might be dealing with the same issues, loss. There's even an episode about Buster's parents getting a divorce in one of the earlier episodes, shedding a light on divorced families and not really treating them any differently. And it shows that even though Buster's parents are separated, he still has a healthy relationship with his parents. We've seen him interacting with his mother in quite a few episodes. They seem to have a really positive relationship. And then in the episode Postcards from Buster, he goes to visit his father. And in the episode 1001 Dads, his dad surprises him on Father's Day with a balloon ride. And he even stresses to Arthur, who doesn't understand, he stresses to him the importance of having a stable relationship with your parents, even if they may not be together. There were also a bunch of characters who were ahead of their time. I know I mentioned this before with Carl, who's on the autism spectrum, and George, who has dyslexia. They also featured a visually impaired character in the form of Marina, who was a recurring character and Pernella's best friend. And they introduced the concept of allergies, Binky being allergic to peanuts and peanut-based products, Jenna being allergic to milk, and Buster having asthma, and his friends treating him differently because of it, when really they just weren't educated on asthma or similar conditions, and they weren't trying to be malicious about it. And once Buster tells him that he's the same old Buster and that he just has asthma, quote from Buster's Breathless, everything goes back to normal, which shows that some people just are uneducated about a certain topic. That doesn't mean that they're trying to be mean about it, which was another really meaningful episode that was tackled. Undoubtedly the darkest would be the April 9th one, as controversial as it was. It paid tribute to 9/11, even though it wasn't directly stated, because it wasn't directly stated if it happened in that universe. But basically there was a fire at the school, and Arthur and his friends are all trying to process the situation differently and come to terms with it in their own unique ways. In the episode April 9th, that is. In Shelter from the Storm, we actually see Brain dealing with a child psychologist to help with his anxiety regarding hurricanes and their unpredictability, and we meet Kaylee Lamont, a girl who befriends Muffy after being evacuated even before the hurricane hit. It's never actually mentioned in the show, but we do know that they have winters, we do know that they have summer, the change in seasons, we do know that they have hurricanes, so there's some geographical clues here, but it's one of those where is Springfield scenarios where a place isn't stated, or a state, really. But overall, the reason I'm making this video is because even though Arthur technically isn't airing anymore, it's one of those shows that it doesn't matter what generation you are, you've seen it, whether you've watched it before and after school, whether your kids have watched it, whether your grandkids have watched it, whether you watched it with your siblings. It's just one of those shows that had a unique perspective on life and wasn't afraid to introduce new, different characters and wasn't afraid to didn't really shy away from serious topics. And for that reason, for all these reasons I've listed, that is why there will never be another cartoon like Arthur. If you want to pay your respects to the show, please leave a comment down in the comment section below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. See you all in the next video. Wolfie out.